One of the earliest proper videos that I ever put out on my channel was my ultimate Star Wars rankings, and I feel since then my rankings have changed a lot, but more importantly my reasoning behind those rankings has changed a lot too, so I thought I'd revisit the idea and do it again today, so let's go. I'm going to be ranking all 11 movies, so the Skywalker Saga plus Rogue One and Solo, and then Rebels, Resistance and the Clone Wars as well. I would do Bad Batch, but it's not anywhere near finished, so I feel like it would be unfair. Oh, and I forgot the Mandalorian as well. So, before we get started with last place, I would ask you to subscribe, and yeah, 15th place is going to be Star Wars Resistance. Now, it's not completely terrible, however, it's not for me. But that's okay, because I feel like Resistance was very clearly aimed for a younger audience, and it may do the job for them, but for me, it doesn't, and it's going to be in last place. It doesn't really include very many of the sequel characters. If it did, I'd give it more respect and, want to watch it more, but it's just not interesting to me, because I'm not bothered about the characters that it is, covering. And like I said, it doesn't cover any of the characters from the sequels, and if it did, maybe it'd rank higher. Now, 14th place, I am prepared for hate. It is the Phantom Menace. Now, I want to say quickly, I love all Star Wars things from here on out. I don't love Resistance, but I don't dislike it. But from here on out, like I said, I love all of Star Wars. The Phantom Menace is last for me, because I feel like there is not as much to it. What I mean by that is, take out of the individual moments that are absolutely amazing, by the way. I love so much the pod race and Duel of the Fates, and yeah, but take out those moments and include them as a whole story, which is what the film is. It is a whole story, and to be honest, it's not the best in Star Wars, and in fact I think it's one of the worst, which is why it ranks last. You might disagree, and that is absolutely fine, but like I said, I love some of the individual moments in this movie, but the whole story itself isn't too good. Next up is going to be Solo, a Star Wars story, which is probably a worse Star Wars movie than The Phantom Menace, but you know, it was fun. It was a fun little heist movie. I hope that the Lando series builds on the story that this provided, because it's kind of like alone in the storyline. There's not too much that links it together. Obviously we know about Maul's criminal empire and everything, we know of its existence, but this is the only coverage of it that we got, and we've not really seen it since. So yeah, a fun movie, not particularly related at all to the Skywalker saga, gave a little background to Han and Chewie, so yeah, I liked it. 12th place is going to be Attack of the Clones, and wow, I've got 2 out of the 3 prequels already. I am scared to look in that comment section, to be honest, but at least hear me out. I, once again, really like this movie, and I think this is similar to The Phantom Menace, as people seem to rate it for its individual moments rather than the whole story. However, I think this one's whole story is actually good, better than The Phantom Menace, and it definitely has more individual moments that are really good, such as Django versus Obi-Wan. The whole Camino scene, to be honest, was great. The bounty hunter chase at the start, Anakin, Obi-Wan and Yoda versus Dooku, the Geonosis arena. Yeah, I think this has loads and loads of great moments, but the thing that holds Attack of the Clones down for me is what the prequels get a lot of hate for, is the dialogue. To be honest, it's not particularly great, and just like the joining things between all these great moments isn't too good, but the overall story is not what I dislike it for. I think the story is absolutely fine. It's just the way the story was put together this time, but still, I really like Attack of the Clones. Like I just said though, if Attack of the Clones and The Phantom Menace were made as recently as the Rise of Skywalker and the rest of the sequels, they could genuinely be first and second in my list. Now, 11th place is going to be the Rise of Skywalker, so panic over, the sequels aren't going to be my top 3. They're not going to be the only things in my top 3. It's not just going to be The Force Awakens, Rise of Skywalker, The Last Jedi. This is the biggest mover of the list so far. This was last other than Resistance, this was dead last for me. But even when it was last, I acknowledged how easy it was to rewatch this movie. Like, I've sat down and rewatched this one, even though it's one of my least favourites, so many times, and I think it's finally time for me to give it credit for that. Like, it being so easy to rewatch is a good factor of the movie, so I am going to give it credit for that this time. It sits in 11th place. It's not got the best story. It's probably worse than The Phantom Menace. It's definitely helped by how recent it was made, so then it was like able to look good. The dialogue is probably better than the prequels as well, which helps it a lot. So one of my main reasonings for Attack of the Clones and The Phantom Menace being so low is like those two things, and if those two movies were made nowadays, wow, they would be absolutely incredible. But The Rise of Skywalker was made very recently, so it got the benefits of that, and that's why it sits in 11th above those two. Now, Rogue One is the second of the two non-Skywalker saga movies. I guess actually the Clone Wars movie is one as well. The second of the two live-action non-Skywalker saga movies. It places in 10th, and yeah, I really like Rogue One. I think the story is fantastic. It links to A New Hope perfectly. It gives context to that movie of like how the Death Star plans were acquired, how Vader was like right on the tail of like Leia and the Rebels at the start of the movie. And yeah, I think it was really good. Visually, it was beautiful. The characters that were in it, Cassian, K2, Jyn, Krennic, were incredible. And it's sad that they had to die, because obviously they weren't in A New Hope. But at least we're getting the Andor series from it. So yeah, a very good movie, 10th place. 9th place, however, is going to be The Force Awakens, the first episode of the sequels, episode 7. A lot of people try and like mug this movie off because it's a copy of A New Hope. Although I can see the similarities, I don't really see how it's like any different to The Phantom Menace, say. There's a main character on a sandy planet, and they end up helping to blow up a big thing. I think that's where the similarities start, and exactly where they end as well. I can't really see much past that, but yeah, I really like the way that the characters were introduced in this movie. I liked Poe, I liked Finn, I liked Rey, I liked Kylo, I liked Han. And yeah, I think it was really quite good. That is why it is in 9th place. And another good thing about this movie was how it set up so much possibility for like what's to happen in the next one. It didn't like solidify what had to happen next. It left a big cliffhanger with Luke, and The Last Jedi got to do what they wanted with it. Whether you like that or not, that's up to you. I'm going to speak about that later, but The Force Awakens did set it up to be basically anything as long as it justified why he was hiding on the island, which is where I don't understand a lot of the hate for The Last Jedi, as The Force Awakens the one that made him on the island hiding away. But yeah, I'll speak about that in a minute. Now, on to A New Hope itself, the original Star Wars movie. It places itself in 8th for me, and it was probably a perfect opening to Star Wars. But you may be thinking, well, if it's a perfect opening, then why is it in 8th? Because it's just an opening. Like, everything that came after it built on what we already got with A New Hope, so this movie was never going to be like the best of the best. I mean, some of you may think it is because of like nostalgia and how well of an opening it was, but for me, I don't think it is the best like out of everything we got following it. But this movie set up everything following it fantastically, if you get what I'm trying to say there. We got introduced to so many characters like Vader, Han, Luke, Obi-Wan, Leia, C-3PO, R2-D2. I could go on for ages, and all of them were developed very well in this movie. And like I said, this movie set up like progression and growth of the whole story and the characters so well, which is why it's such a good movie. It was probably let down a bit by the technology of the time. Like, imagine the original trilogy was made nowadays with like the budget and the technology that the sequels had. That would be outrageous. The only bad thing about this movie is probably Obi-Wan versus Vader choreography, but other than that, there is absolutely nothing wrong with it, and it thoroughly deserves its place in 8th. Now, 7th place is The Last Jedi, and I know a lot of you will be getting annoyed at the fact that it is this high, but if you really want, I can make a whole video on The Last Jedi, kind of discussing my feelings about it, breaking down plot holes that aren't really plot holes that you may like believe are plot holes. So yeah, comment your thoughts on The Last Jedi and like some things you don't like about it, and maybe I'll make a video responding to them. But yeah, I really like The Last Jedi, to be honest. I initially hated it, and I rewatched it with an open mind. And if you don't like The Last Jedi, please rewatch it with a genuine open mind. Don't just say that you're going to do it for real, and trust me, you will feel better for it. It is a good movie. If I'm being honest though, I don't like the Canto Bite sequence with Finn and Rose, so it's not a perfect movie, but I definitely still like it. Kylo, for me, was incredible in this movie, and so was Snoke, and the way that Kylo killed Snoke as well was, like, perfect, to be honest, and I really enjoyed seeing him lead the First Order, which is the main reason why I want a Clone Wars style show between episode 8 and 9 where Kylo is the leader of the First Order. I think that would be so good. But yeah, I really liked Rey in this movie, and Luke as well. I feel a lot of people that dislike Luke's arc in this movie just seem to think he is this absolute perfect person and could never make a mistake, which is why they don't like his arc in this movie. But he does correct his mistake, he does acknowledge that he made a mistake, and he is not a perfect person. So like I said, if you want me to do a video on The Last Jedi, then just let me know and I will. And I know that you may not like The Last Jedi, but you may like this video because it may change your mind. And ultimately, we are all Star Wars fans. We do want to like everything, it's just sometimes we can't. So if I was you and I had someone saying that they want to help change your mind on something, then I would be all for it. So let me know. Anyway, enough of that, we are on to Return of the Jedi, the final film of the original trilogy, and another one that I think was near enough perfect. Ironically, episode 6 ranks 6th for me, and the only thing that I would say that I didn't enjoy so much about it was the Ewoks. However, I've kind of come to terms with it as they are literally bears, so a lot of people say like they shouldn't be as strong as they are, they shouldn't be able to knock out the stormtroopers, but they are literally bears, they're just smaller versions, so I don't have as much of a problem with that anymore as I used to. But yeah, I'm going to try and make these last ones quicker as I've been waffling for very long. Luke, Vader and Palpatine were immaculate in this movie. I think Leia, Han and Lando were perfectly written as well. So yeah, what an incredible movie, and it ranks 6th place in my Ultimate Star Wars ranking. Here we go now, top 5, 5th place, Revenge of the Sith. Honestly, such an incredible movie. It is more rewatchable than The Rise of Skywalker, probably the most rewatchable movie, as there's just so much that happens, and I love that about this movie. If I was ranking it in terms of the lightsaber fights in all the movies, this would be first place. If you include like the series, I guess it's a bit unfair because they just have so much more, but yeah, Revenge of the Sith is incredible. The only thing holding it back is probably what holds back the other two prequels, which is the dialogue, but the story is not a problem in this movie. It's incredible. It links together the prequels to the originals despite the 19-year gap between them so well, and yeah, I absolutely love Revenge of the Sith. I can understand why it's first for so many people. Now, 4th place is The Mandalorian, and this was initially going to be 5th, swapped with Revenge of the Sith. But I feel like these series have an advantage over all the movies as there is just more Star Wars content within them. That is why the Clone Wars and Rebels are yet to be in this list, because they rank quite highly. There's just more Star Wars content, and ultimately, the more Star Wars, the more likely there's going to be Star Wars that I really enjoy. So the more likely it's going to rank higher on my list. It's as simple as that. The more good parts there is, the higher it's going to be, and the more there is, the more likely there's going to be more good parts. So yeah, The Mandalorian ranks in 4th. Now, the highest ranking movie is going to be The Empire Strikes Back. I absolutely love this. It's coming in 3rd place. There is not one thing wrong with it. I said A New Hope hardly has anything wrong, but there was a little bit. I said Return of the Jedi had hardly anything wrong, but there was a little bit. But Empire Strikes Back has nothing wrong. The story was immaculate. It's another one of those movies where the good guys lose that happens to be so good. We see it in Revenge of the Sith and Infinity War, for examples, and they are two of the best movies from their franchises. So yeah, from the very start on Hoth with Luke and Han, Luke obviously getting like lost, Han has to come save him, and then like Rogue 2 comes out to save them. We get introduced to bounty hunters, AT-ATs, so much, and obviously we get the announcement that Darth Vader was the father of Luke Skywalker. We also got Yoda in this movie as well. Like, this not only was in itself such a good movie. Like A New Hope, it set so much up to be built off of it. Like the bounty hunters, we now have like arcs in the Clone Wars for like hours of content around them. We now have content around like the little weird guy on Dagobah. He's now one of the main characters of the prequel era, and yeah, honestly, so good. I love this movie. Now, coming in second place is going to be Star Wars Rebels. Another very unpopular opinion. I seem to have a lot of them in my back pocket, but yeah, I love Rebels. It would be first if it was longer, because again, it's just more content equals more good content equals higher up in the list, and the thing that's ranking above it has 3 extra seasons, so that's why it's clear. But yeah, Rebels brings us so many good characters that not all of them are necessarily relevant to the main like Skywalker saga, but you know, we need to build off of that storyline. We can't just keep going, okay, we'll make this about Anakin, we'll make this about Luke, we'll make this about Vader, we'll make this about Kylo or Rey. Eventually, we're going to have to build on the other characters, which Rebels does fantastically. We get more on Maul, we get more on Ahsoka, we get more on one of the Skywalkers being Vader, we get more on Palpatine, we get Thrawn for the first time, we get more of old Obi-Wan, and then we get like some more new characters like Thrawn. We get Kanan, Ezra, Zeb, Callus, Hera, Sabine, etc, etc. We learn so much about the Rebellion and the Empire as well, and I absolutely love the family vibe that it gives off of the Ghost Squad as well. Chopper as well, forgot to mention, but yeah, I love Rebels. Now, first place is, as you can tell, the Clone Wars. Now, although the ratio of good to bad is probably worse than Rebels and The Empire Strikes Back, the fact that there's 7 seasons just makes up for that. We get arcs about Jar Jar Binks, like we learn so much about so many characters. Like, I use Jar Jar as an example because the fact that we can get an arc about him just shows how much like content there actually was, how much we learned about so many different people, how many different people we got introduced to, and yeah, you can't not love it. If you don't watch animated series of Star Wars because they're too childish, then you are mistaken. Half of this is very adult content in terms of like, you see murders, you see slavery, you see way too much that should be aimed for a child. But yeah, the Clone Wars is incredible, and I'm so glad that we're getting the Bad Batch in the same animation style and building off where we left off with them in Season 7. But yeah, that is going to be my ultimate Star Wars ranking. Let me know what you thought in the comments, but don't be too harsh. I'm going to show some people's ranking from my Discord server here, so maybe let me know whose ranking is your favourite. And yeah, obviously, let me know what yours was in the comments as well. I'll be interested to see. Please like, please leave a comment like I've just said. Please subscribe. I'm really trying to get to 5k. Thank you for watching, and in a bit.